What's up, you guys? Adam here with Anabolic Climbing, and today it's time for Doping for Speed Climbers Enhanced Games Edition. So, if you guys want to petition the Enhanced Games to bring speed climbing into the mix, which would be awesome, if you guys want to learn more about other pharmacology that could help with rock climbing and speed climbing in general, hit the like, subscribe, and alert. Drop a comment if there's another thing that you guys would like to see. And without further ado, let's hop into Doping for Speed Climbers. So, the premise of these protocols is going to be strictly how to maximize speed on meet day. This has nothing to do with doping for training, doping for injury recovery. I'm strictly looking at, I'm at a speed climbing meet. How do I climb as fast as possible, and what vectors can I exploit? Obviously, we're looking at explosivity. We're trying to get maximum power output for the 5 seconds or less that we're on the wall. Cardiovascular capacity. We do not want to lose power at the top of the route. We are looking at continuous power all the way through, and obviously sympathetic drive. I want folks to be in fight or flight. I want folks to be waiting for the split second to push off. I want there to be no opportunities to miss time. The goal for a protocol like this is to make it up the wall in sub 4.4. Currently, I believe Sam Watson unofficially has gone sub 4.6. I think a Chinese climber might have also gotten sub 4.6 as well. So let's look at what we could use in order to get folks from point A to point B. And I'm going to be basing this protocol largely off of some of the compounds used at the Sochi Olympics and by the Russian national team. So, if you guys don't know who Gregory Rodchenkov is, man, I did this initially and I didn't go back and make that edit. I gotta go back. If you guys don't know who Gregory Rodchenkov is, you need to know who Gregory Rodchenkov is. This dude is from Icarus and, frankly, one of the godfathers of doping. I adore him, both for how awesome he was portrayed in Icarus, teaching us about what he exposed at Sochi, even though he was also the guy that was running the protocols and running the cheating. Currently, he is in witness protection program in the United States and being tracked down by the Russians, which is super fucked. Obviously, go watch Icarus. It's one of the inspirations of this channel. But let's actually go into the Duchess cocktail, which is what it was called, and talk about what they did in some of the German games leading up to Sochi, Sochi itself, and what we can learn from them. So initially, the protocol was made as a sublingual protocol, meaning they put a combination of turinabol, trenbolone, and primobolan in some alcohol. The men had vodka, the women had chivas, and they would basically swish the alcohol around for about a minute, and that would get into the mucosal membrane, basically the mucous membrane of the mouth, and also through some of the veins underneath the tongue. And this way you would have a very fast acting and fast clearing delivery mechanism for these three compounds. So when I earlier have talked about sublingual anavar administration, we're doing the same thing. And if you take certain sublingual compounds, that could be turinabol, that could be anavar, that could be winstrol, you're basically using this delivery system of using the alcohol to make some small cuts in the mouth so that the drug could then seep in and get into the bloodstream. Super effective, super quick. It cuts down the half-life and the delivery time very, very quickly. So it is obviously helpful for folks back at the time before WADA knew to test for such a small detection window. And that's one of the reasons why it was chosen. So, quick housekeeping that I want to go through. Number one, I'm pretty sure the men and the women had different dosing structures. And the reason I intuit this is because they were drinking different alcohols or using different alcohols to swish. The men were using vodka, the women were using chivas. There's a high probability, and obviously I don't have access to Rodchenkov's info, or else I would talk to that dude daily, that they probably had lower doses for the women so that they wouldn't virilize. My other assumption is if there was other doping happening around these times, other protocols were being used, and this was just a game day thing. I don't think women were running all three of these compounds for extended periods of time. both because it would trigger the detection window, but also it would make it more likely for them to viralize. It wouldn't surprise me if they had dosed this a couple of times so that they could adapt to it, like a pre-workout that was specialized, but I don't think that they were running it like daily or weekly in training. Next up, there were actually some alterations made to the Duchess cocktail. After folks tested positive in some German games, they swapped out the turinabol for Anavar. So again, that was probably just to beat the detection times. My speculation is that the men were using between 30 to 100 milligrams worth of drugs, and the women were probably using in the 10 to 20 range. That's just what my gut check is. I could be entirely wrong. The McLaren report, which was done by WADA, doesn't go into the specifics, but that's just sort of my gut check. So now that we have sort of that table setting, let's talk about what I would do going off of that sort of pyramid, that sort of foundational understanding of how that they're doing this, and what would I do for speed climbers for an enhanced games where they're not trying to beat the testing. And some of this I'm actually stealing from powerlifting. So again, similar mechanisms. We're going to be going with fast-acting esters. We're going to be using suspensions for everything. These are going to make it so that these compounds hit immediately. We do not want anything that's going to be a slow buildup like an enanthate, like a cypionate, even a propionate. We want something that's going to be in and out of our system that we are going to feel like a ton of bricks. And here's how we're going to structure it. 100 milligrams of testosterone is the base. This is obviously for men only. We're not doing this for the women. 50 milligrams of trenbolone suspension, 50 milligrams of primobolan suspension, and 20 milligrams of turinabol orally. Could you do an injectable turinabol? Probably not. I believe that would just be dianabol. So we would use that as our base cocktail. Could we make substitutions? Sure. You could easily replace the primobolan for Mastron. You could remove the trenbolone entirely. You could also potentially throw in some Superdrol in there if that was the thing that you wanted to do, potentially YK11. But the goal for all of this is something to hit immediately, help out with some of the aggression, neuromuscular drive, and basically to be as dialed in as possible and as itching to go as one could be to get up in sub 4.4. Again, we could swap out the turinabol for Anavar, primobolan for Mastron. Both are DHTs. Both would be fine. You could also do this with straight testosterone and turinabol, or straight testosterone and Anavar, and that would probably be fine. But that's just the steroid portion of the compound. There are other mechanisms that we could leverage, and that would be some of the things that we are using for cardio boosters. Obviously, you guys know how I feel about SLUPP332. Huge fan. I think that 20 milligrams would be enough to massively spike cardio output without being so much on the heart and the heart racing that it might cause nerves. I think 10 to 20 milligrams of cardarine could also be there like peanut butter and jelly. It wouldn't be a terrible idea to potentially swap out the cardarine for meldronium. Either one of those would be fine. But I think both of those on game day could do a lot to really make sure that you're not losing power and endurance toward the tail end of the route. Next up, some Adderall for some sympathetic drive. I know that I'm a big fan of dexedrine in general, but I actually want some of the methyl salts in the Adderall to give us more of that fight or flight. And of course, because this is untested, we're going to throw in a little bit of hydrochlorothiazide, which is a diuretic, at 25 to 50 milligrams to be able to flush the athlete to maybe shave off a pound or two to assist with being a little bit lighter going up the wall. Could we also do what I've spoken about as far as the accelerated deload protocol for anti-inflammatories for BPC 157 and TB 500? Sure. Could you potentially leverage some fluvoxamine to improve motor function? I don't think it really makes a difference at this high level of an athlete. I think for folks dealing with dementia or Alzheimer's or less trained athletes, it could help hand-eye coordination more than elite athletes, but sure, that's a thing that could be done. But I definitely think the cardio boosters plus the sympathetic drive plus the diuretic, in addition to the steroids, I would be shocked if we couldn't go sub 4.4 at the bare minimum if we were to take a dude like Sam Watson or some of the elite Chinese climbers and threw them up that wall. So I might make a separate protocol for training where it would probably be a combination of TRT plus a GLP-1. And I think that would be also probably some Anavar or Turinabol, both because that would limit some of the overall exposure. Yeah, you wouldn't basically have to deal with too much weight gain. You'd be able to have a lot of muscle retention. You'd have additional power and aggression from the T-ball or the Anavar, and you wouldn't have to worry about mass too much and hold on to muscle in a deficit. But I think this is a pretty good overview of peak day and a little bit of a solid baseline teaser of what could be done for speed climbers. As I pick up more connections in the speed climbing community on Instagram, I'm curious to see if any of the untested folks get into this. That would be wild. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed these kind of pharmacological breakdowns, please do not forget to hit the like, subscribe, and alert. Helps the channel out tremendously. Throw us a comment. At some point or another, I will probably run a similar protocol in testing, maybe even in the next week or two. I might go test suspension only to work on a dyno that I'm running. That might be the appropriate occasion to take that baby out for a spin. So if I do, I'll check back in and let you know. But yeah, with that said, I am Adam with Anabolic Climbing, wishing you guys good luck, happy sending, and as always, go fast. Take care.